Hello, Dr. Uche's Book Club fans. I am back here to connect with you. I'm so excited. I have a list of questions. About 2 weeks ago, I had asked on the Facebook page, I asked people to ask me questions basically. So I'm going to try work through the questions and try give you my best answers, okay? So, before we even start, welcome. If this is your first time on my channel, it is fabulous having you here. Please go ahead and hit subscribe so that you will know when I upload videos. Also, hit that bell so you get an alert when there are new videos. And I am so excited to book network with you. I am Dr. Uche, your doctor, booktuber, and let's dig in. So, I got a list of questions on the Facebook page, and I'm going to try answer them here. The first, what's your favorite place to write? I don't write a lot. I mostly dictate. So to write, you would have to have a little more free time than I do. Running around, full-time physician, 3 children, married. So I mostly dictate. If a thought comes to me, I dictate into mostly my iPhone, the Notes app, and I just leave it there. And if I have another thought, I dictate some more. So that's usually how I get most of my writing done. So technically, there isn't really a favorite place to write. For me, I don't have a lot of free time to sit down during regular hours and write. In another question, in narration of a story, which do you prefer? First person, second person, or third person? I had to think about that recently from some of the stuff I've been reading. I don't like the first person very much. It's not my favorite way to craft a book. Yes, I've enjoyed several written in that fashion, but I tend to prefer the second person. I tend to feel like the story should be a bit out of the character. And perhaps that's because I listen a lot more than I actually physically read. But I find it a lot easier to follow a plot where it's narrated in the second person for that reason. I feel like when it's narrated in the first person, you almost hear one character's account and experience, and then you go to another chapter and you hear the next person's experience narrated in the first person. And sometimes that works, sometimes it's not as much fun. I like to, again, as I said, I like to have the story a little outside of the person. So next question. If you had a choice to be an animal for a day, what would that be? Wow. I've never thought about that. This is for somebody who grew up in Zimbabwe. I spent my formative years in Zimbabwe with their huge safaris and wild animals and wildlife. I would guess I'd have to be one of the big 5, and I think the lion is one of them, because I really don't like being the one that everyone's trying to catch and eat. So I'd have to be the lion, because a lioness, I guess, they're very aggressive and yet they're gentle animals. They don't hurt unless if they're hungry, So they only ever hunt if they need to eat. So they're not wicked. They only try to survive. So I like lions. When I see them at the zoo, they're very calm, just sitting down peacefully. If they're not hunting, they're calm. They're not disturbing anything. So I guess I'd like to be a lion, a lioness. Do you have any phobia? Oh my goodness. Anything, snakes, crawling, count me out. I don't like those things at all. Not even a toy. The other day, my son, my 5-year-old, really wanted to buy a toy snake. And I said no. I mean, the thing was plastic, yellow, orange, and green, and God knows what. I said no. We're not buying snakes here. I don't want to have nightmares. So I don't like snakes at all. What kind of ending do you prefer? Happy or sad? Invariably, I love happy endings. I love happy endings. I have to say though, whenever I read a story with a sad ending, I feel how brave of the author. I applaud them for trying to avoid this commonly used happy ending. And it takes a little more craft, I think, to end a book with a sad ending. And I'm one of those people, when I read the last page of a book, I'm often pining for more, thinking, they should write a sequel. This is how it should be. And I'm more likely to have that feeling or that sentiment when there's a sad ending. Nonetheless, I love the happy endings, but again, as I said, I think it's very brave of people to try and have a sad ending. Do you write in longhand or keyboard of my favorite device? Again, I don't write a lot. I can never find enough free time to sit and write. I find it a lot more efficient and quicker to dictate. I am a very fast at typing. I type a lot at work. We do a lot of documentation in the U.S. medical system. So over the years, got to think about that, since 2005 that I've been outside med school in some sort of clinical work. So I guess that would be, am I counting 16 years? So that long I've been typing. So you can imagine how quick you get typing every day, every patient, several patients every week. So I type very fast, furiously fast. Many of my patients comment, "Oh my goodness, doc, you're so fast." But I don't have the time to sit and type. So I mostly, again, as I said, I mostly dictate, and then I email it to myself, and I save it in a folder. And so, yeah, I guess that answers the question. Whenever I do have time to polish up some work on my laptop, then it's on my laptop. It wouldn't be on the iPhone. No, I would perhaps email something I've dictated to my email and ultimately write it in, or edit or complete or refine the work in Microsoft Word. Which is harder? That's my night owl. He doesn't like to sleep. My little guy. Which is harder, writing or rewriting, editing? Oh my God, without a doubt. Rewriting and editing, that's a lot harder. I am somebody who's very verbose. I can spill out 20 pages in an hour of something I'm very passionate about, or I've had time to think about. But to go back and refine it and make it make sense to someone else, because you can write every glorious thing you can imagine, but if you're writing for an audience, you have to be able to step back and say, what's my audience? Who is my avatar as far as somebody's going to buy this book? What do I want them to take away from the book? How do I want this to uplift them and give them value? And so that's a totally different piece of work. Now that I can, I do self-help books. Those are things I've published. I haven't done a lot of fiction, although not too long ago, I was working on a children's book. I didn't take it to publication. I felt there were major flaws in the book. And so it's sitting on my laptop somewhere in a folder. But I usually can dictate or get the bulk of the content, most of the content done, if I've had time to think about it. I can do that in a month and a half. But to now go back and refine it, gosh, that can take me 3-6 months or more. That's the hard work, in my opinion, because what you write is only as good as who reads it, right? So, as I said, you can spill out what you like, but if it's not giving someone else value or fun, if it's fiction, it has to be enjoyable, right? And if it's not doing that, then I think there's room for improvement, right? As far as writing for an audience. Do you have any writing rituals? On the rare occasions when I actually have time to sit and write or edit or even dictate, like if my kids are in bed, if my night owl goes to sleep, he's looking for me. And it's like 9 p.m. On the rare occasion when I do that, I like to have a warm drink. I love tea and coffee, and I don't drink coffee at night. It keeps me awake. Mushroom coffee, different story. Actually makes you sleep. So either my favorite cup of peppermint tea on dandelion tea or a mushroom coffee at night, black, I like it just black, or with some almond milk, but no sugar. I love that. I love peace and quiet, comfortable place, comfortable corner. If I'm going to write, it's not going to be when my kids are up and about. It's going to be when they're in bed, when I have some peace and quiet, and otherwise not busy. Maybe my husband's doing his own thing. So that would be it. My warm drink, just my warm drink. That does it for me. How do you handle writer's block? Good question. I don't have the luxury of dealing with writer's block a lot. Maybe because I write or dictate in spurts. If I have a thought, I dictate it. And then I'm done. I move on. I go grocery shopping or something. And I don't dictate again till I have another thought. And thoughts come to me in random fashion. I could be driving, or it could be something my child said, or something I just saw on the TV, or something, a memory that comes to mind. And then I think of something, and if I can make out the time, I quickly dictate that thought. But then I go back when I have time often, and I look at what I've dictated, and that's when I get to add and refine even to my thoughts. So I guess because I dictate in spurts, I haven't dealt with writer's block. But I have to admit, I don't do a lot of fiction writing. I think you're a lot more prone to writer's block there. There's perhaps a little more creativity, in my opinion, for writing fiction than, say, self-help that I do, where I write from a place of skill and talent. There's something I've done many times, and I know how to do it, and I'm trying to break it down for someone else to read and be able to replicate what I've done or be able to do something similar. So yes, hey, hats off to all those fiction writers. It takes a lot more work. I have met physicians who write fiction, and I cannot wrap my head around how they get that done. They must be super talented people who can, even in the busy world of working or professional lives, physician or otherwise, can actually find the headspace to sit and create fiction. I have all respect for them. Another question, what does writing entail? Wow. I think you need to have a thought or vision, something you want to convey, and yet that's just a piece of it. You need to be able to articulate it, which is why you probably find a lot of writers are big readers. You have to read. You have to know how to construct syntax, how to create a plot in a way that's attractive. And it doesn't come immediately. You may create the framework and have to go back, how to put in dialogue, how to break the monotony of writing so you're not reading just paragraph after paragraph. And I am no expert by any means, but this is just in having read so much over the years and being in a place where I can actually compare the craft from person to person, from author to author. It probably involves a lot of research. Even when you're doing fiction, oftentimes there's a piece of historical fiction in it, or even if it's just pure fiction, to know the context. I've seen people who are not scientists, who are not physicians, write about medical illness. It's interesting. This is actually my bedtime read. Oh gosh, did I lose my page? This is what I'm reading right now, What We Lose by Zinzi Clemens. I love this book. It speaks to me in many different ways, but she's writing about her mom dying from breast cancer, and she's not likely a medical person. Now, she doesn't go into a lot of detail. She talks about treatments, mother going through treatment, I think being unwell, But there are people who I've seen who've written a lot more depth to areas they're really not familiar with. So it takes a lot of background research. I can imagine that's part of writing. And then having the power to self-critique and say, yes, I've written this, but this could be better. Having the ability to take feedback. I've certainly had pieces I wrote where I sent it out and somebody totally gave me critique from head to toe, and I stopped. As I said, the children's book I was writing, believe it or not, the critique came from my 10-year-old daughter. She gave me some really solid critique in looking at the draft, and I had to pause all effort on that book. I realized that something about the creation and the audience I was targeting was just not well done. And I haven't actually gotten back to it. I'm still thinking of how to redo or improve on that book. It turns out I meant for it to be a chapter book for children in her age group. But when she read it, she found some parts of it were rather sad and she was put off. So like a child that age would not read it. And yet I'm writing it for them. So, that tells you there's a big problem there. So I think that's what writing entails, being able to go over version by version. There was a time when I published medical literature, research, and so on. And I remember you'd write up a paper and you'd send it to the co-authors who are often more experienced researchers, physician researchers, and you'd be ready to get this avalanche of feedback, like people shooting emails in all directions. Do this, change that. And you, the junior fellow or junior faculty, trying to put it all together, have everyone's pieces in. So it probably is the same way when you send out your piece of work of fiction or whatever to your editors and they shoot off all sorts of feedback. I haven't done traditional publishing, but I can imagine it must be something like that, and talking to people who have. And I have heard that's why it can take a long process, if you're lucky, to ever become published by one of the big publishing houses. So, wow, thank you. Those were some really good questions. I hope my answers were helpful and made for some fun listening to as well. And I always love to connect with you. Again, if this is your first time on my channel, I am Dr. Uche, your doctor, booktuber. I come here to discuss books I am reading, hoping to book network with you, hoping to engage and learn what you are reading. Most importantly, more important than anything I do is I love hearing back from you, hearing about what you're reading, your thoughts about things. You please go ahead and click subscribe, follow, and click the bell so you know when I upload new videos. I'm always often here, every week or two, discussing a book I'm reading. As I said, this is what I'm reading now, but I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back to this some other time and tell you what it's all about. I am about midway. I just started it today. It's not a very big book. It's about 210 pages. I've read things bigger than this in a day. So let's see how many minutes I can get in, if I can convince my son to go to bed before I go to bed. And I'll come back and tell you about this one, What We Lose, a novel by Zinzi Clemens. So far, it's a very, it's a good one. I like it so far. So I come here to review books, hoping to inspire you on your reading journey, hoping to connect with you also and learn from what you are reading. So again, Dr. Uche, your Dr. Booktuber, so good connecting with you, and I will see you next time. Take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.